I challenge you to answer 13 questions about the movie Ghostbusters. Will you survive my 13 scary questions, or will your wrong answers lead to the destruction of the world at the hands of an all-powerful god from another dimension? Let's find out. I'm Griff Robodanger, and this is 13 Scary Questions. Here's how it works. I'm going to challenge you with 13 questions about the original Ghostbusters movie. Some of these questions may be easy, but some
may be a bit evil.
Answer these questions and keep track of how many you get correct. At the end of the game, I'll let you know your fate. Of course, this video contains spoilers, so if you haven't seen Ghostbusters yet, go yell at your parents for not showing you Ghostbusters, then go watch the movie and come back. Otherwise, let the games begin.
Question 1.
When we first meet Peter Venkman, he's at his university job conducting an ESP experiment with 2 volunteers. In this experiment, he holds up a card with the back side forward and asks the volunteer to tell him what design is on the front of the card. And of course, if you get it wrong, you get an electric shock because science? What is the symbol on the first card shown in this scene? A. Square. B. Plus sign. C. Circle. D. Star. The correct answer is D. Star. These cards are an actual thing. They're called Zener cards, and they were developed by perceptual psychologist Carl Zener in the early 1930s. You can also buy them on Amazon, but the electric shock machine is sold separately.
Question 2.
The Ecto-1, also known as the Ectomobile, has become one of the most iconic movie vehicles of all time. It's been recreated in toy form, as a Lego set, in video games, it's even been a Transformer. In the movie, Ray is the one who buys the car, a 1950s ambulance, which will later be turned into the iconic Ecto-1. How much did Ray pay for the Ecto-1? A. $1,000. B. $2,200. C. $3,400. D. $4,800. The correct answer is D. $4,800, which is kind of a steal if you consider that there are currently models of the Ecto-1 selling for more than that on eBay right now.
Question 3.
Peter visits Dana's apartment to check out her Zool situation. He tries flirting, but Dana doesn't seem impressed. Dana notes that Peter doesn't act like a scientist. She says he acts more like something else. What does Dana say Peter acts like? A. Used car salesman. B. Stand-up comedian. C. Game show host. D. Clown. The correct answer is C. Game show host, which is a perfectly normal, honorable, respectable thing to be. Now, let's get back to the game in this show you're watching that I host.
Question 4.
One of the Ghostbusters' first big missions takes place at the Sedgwick Hotel, where they encounter Slimer, a ghost that would soon become a staple of the franchise. When they eventually capture Slimer in the hotel, Ray refers to him as a focused, non-terminal phantasm, or something else. How else does Ray describe Slimer? A. Class 5 full roaming vapor. B. Class 7 floating manifestation. C. Class 3 free roaming entity. D. Class 4 ectoplasmic manifestation. The correct answer is A. A Class 5 full roaming vapor. According to Ghostbusters lore, a Class 5 entity is a mid-level specter that takes on a non-humanoid form. Full roaming vapors have also been reported at various Taco Bells.
Question 5. Question 6. Question 7. Question 8. Question 9. Question 10. Question 11. Question 12. Question 13. Question 14. Question 15. Question 16. Question 17. Question 18. Question 19. Question 20. Question 21. Question 22. Question 23. Question 24. Question 25. Question 26. Question 27. Question 28. Question 29. Question 30. Question 31. Question 32. Question 33. Question 34. Question 35. Question 36. Question 37. Question 38. Question 39. Question 40. Question 41. Question 42. Question 43. Question 44. Question 45. Question 46. Question 47. Question 48. Question 49. Question 50. Question 51. Question 52. Question 53. Question 54. Question 55. Question 56. Question 57. Question 58. Question 59. Question 60. Question 61. Question 62. Question 63. Question 64. Question 65. Question 66. Question 67. Question 68. Question 69. Question 70. Question 71. Question 72. Question 73. Question 74. Question 75. Question 76. Question 77. Question 78
Ghostbusters are now celebrities. We get a montage of the Ghostbusters doing Ghostbuster stuff across New York City, while various newspaper and magazine covers featuring the Ghostbusters fly across the screen. If you look closely, you'll notice there are dates on these covers, and they all take place in the same month. Which month does this montage take place in? A. May 1984. B. July 1984. C. September 1984. D. October 1984. The correct answer is D. October 1984. The montage features covers from USA Today, The New York Post, Time, Omni, The Atlantic, and The Globe. Despite all this fame, they still only got one applicant for the fourth Ghostbuster position.
Question 6.
And speaking of that fourth Ghostbuster position, with so much ghostbusting going on now, the Ghostbusters decide they need another member. Winston Zeddemore applies for the job. During his interview, Janine asks Winston if he believes in UFOs, astral projection, and a bunch of other things. There's a whole list. Which of the following is not on that belief list? A. The theory of Atlantis. B. The Loch Ness Monster. C. Spirit photography. D. Bigfoot. The correct answer is D. Bigfoot. She asks Winston if he believes in UFOs, astral projections, mental telepathy, ESP, clairvoyance, spirit photography, telekinetic movement, full transmediums, the Loch Ness Monster, and the theory of Atlantis.
Question 7.
While Dana is getting possessed by Zool, Dana's neighbor Lewis is throwing a rager down the hall until it's interrupted by a giant terror dog. But before that happens, Lewis gets to show off his dance moves? What song is Lewis playing at his party? A. Celebration. B. Stayin' Alive. C. Disco Inferno. D. Thriller. The correct answer is C. Disco Inferno. Okay, so the joke here is supposed to be that Lewis is such a nerd that he was still listening to disco in 1984. But if I'm being totally honest, that song has aged a whole lot better than that Busboys song. Change my mind.
Question 8.
Winston and Ray are out for a drive and they start talking religion. They have a pretty deep conversation about the end times, where Ray brings up a Bible verse that feels quite appropriate for the movie's third act. Which Bible verse does Ray mention? A. Revelation 12:11. B. Revelation 7:12. C. Revelation 2:23. D. Austin 3:16. The correct answer is B. Revelation 7:12. Although this is technically the incorrect answer because the actual Bible verse they quote is Revelation 6:12. I don't know if they screwed this up intentionally to display Ray's shaky knowledge of the Bible or if they just messed up. Or maybe Ray is just drunk, considering he has seemingly been drinking beers in the car during this whole scene.
Question 9.
So eventually, EP a-hole Walter Peck shows up and forces the Ghostbusters to shut down their containment unit. All the ghosts are now free to roam the city, including Slimer, who terrorizes a hot dog vendor by popping out of his hot dog cart with a mouthful of hot dogs. How many hot dogs does Slimer have in his mouth? A. 8. B. 10. C. 12. D. 14. The correct answer is C. 12 hot dogs. Yep, don't have any jokes for this one. No jokes whatsoever.
Question 10.
The movie's big bad is Gozer, an ancient, ultra-powerful, malignant entity from another dimension who was summoned to New York City to destroy the world. Which of the following is not one of Gozer's nicknames? A. Gozer the Destructor. B. Gozer the Conqueror. C. Gozer the Traveler. D. Gozer the Gozerian. The correct answer is B. Gozer the Conqueror. Gozer is also referred to as Vulgus Zildrihar, Lord of the Sabulia.
Question 11.
The title song from the movie, performed by Ray Parker Jr., was also a huge success, topping the Billboard charts for 3 straight weeks and even getting nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Song. Maybe don't mention that last bit to Huey Lewis. The song became a classic in its own right, a staple of Halloween parties to this day. But lyrically, there's not a whole lot going on with this song. I mean, I think pretty much half the song is the word Ghostbusters. How many times is the word Ghostbusters said in the song? A. 13 times. B. 15 times. C. 18 times. D. 21 times. The correct answer is D. 21 times. And yes, I'm counting the times you can barely hear it at the very end while the song is fading out.
Question 12.
Speaking of the title song, the music video for Ghostbusters has over 58 million views on YouTube, much like none of my videos. The video features clips from the movie and features all of the Ghostbusters themselves, dancing with Ray Parker Jr. The video also features cameos from a bunch of celebrities who take turns singing the Ghostbusters part of the song. Which of the following celebrities does not appear in the Ghostbusters video? A. Danny DeVito. B. Carly Simon. C. Eugene Levy. D. Al Franken. The correct answer is C. Eugene Levy. The video also featured cameos from Chevy Chase, Irene Cara, John Candy, Melissa Gilbert, Ollie E. Brown, Jeffrey Tambor, George Wendt, Peter Falk, and Terry Garr. Okay, it's final question time.
Question 13.
It's hard to think of the word Ghostbusters without also thinking of the phrase, who you gonna call? And if you want to call the Ghostbusters, you're in luck, because the movie lets us see the Ghostbusters TV commercial, where their phone number is clearly displayed. What is the Ghostbusters phone number? A. 555-1908. B. 555-2368. C. 555-8519. D. 555-6013. The correct answer is B. 555-2368. This number has been used as a fake number in many TV shows dating back to the 1960s, and was also frequently used as a dummy number by phone companies in their marketing. Did your big brain save you from a horrible fate? Let's find out! If you got all 13 right, congratulations! You and your friends defeated Gozer and stopped the whole ghost invasion once and for all. You're now a major celebrity and the big money deals are coming in. Which is good because you pretty much just ended your primary source of income with the whole no more ghosts thing. If you got 10, 11, or 12 correct, you sold your ghostbusting technology to the government and got the hell out of New York City. You let the military deal with the ghostbusting stuff because you're a scientist, not a soldier. I mean, seriously, this should not be your problem. If you got 7, 8, or 9, you don't have to deal with Gozer anymore, but Slimer decided he wants to be your permanent roommate. Now your home is covered with ectoplasm 24/7. So yeah. If you got 5 or 6, you've been possessed by the Keymaster. The good news is, you've got a hot date with Sigourney Weaver. The bad news? You're both dogs now, and not the cute kind. But if you got 4 or less correct, you just unleashed Gozer and now the world is pretty much screwed. Fire and brimstone coming from the skies, rivers and seas boiling. You know the drill. Everyone you love is doomed. But on the bright side, so are your enemies. Thank you for playing 13 Scary Questions. Share your score down in the comments and let me know how you did. And be sure to join me next time for another 13 Scary Questions. Subscribe so you don't miss out. And until then, later, Danger Seekers.